rising oil prices and U.S. policy challenges. Pause. Imagine paying $4 per gallon at the pump. Pause. Now imagine it's only going to get worse. Pause. That's the reality Americans face as energy prices skyrocket around the globe. The U.S. government recently allowed India to buy Russian oil, temporarily easing sanctions on Moscow. Pause. The decision, meant to reduce rising energy costs, has sparked criticism from lawmakers. Democratic leaders argue it could empower Russia at a time when tensions in the Middle East are already escalating. Representative Sam Liccardo and Senator Ruben Gallego have sent a strong message to the Treasury Department. Pause. They claim the waiver is dangerous, self-defeating, and indefensible. Pause. Their concern isn't just global politics, it's Americans' wallets. The war in Iran has disrupted shipping in the Persian Gulf, where roughly 20% of the world's oil flows. Tankers are bottlenecked. Pause. Gas prices have spiked in the U.S., hitting more than $3.40 per gallon in many areas. The goal is to redirect oil to India instead of China, he explained. Pause. Wright also stressed it does not give Russia a major financial benefit because most revenue comes from the extraction, not the sale. Critics, however, remain skeptical. Pause. They argue that even a temporary lift in sanctions could reward Russia as it reportedly assists Iran in targeting U.S. forces. The lawmakers' letter warns that this approach could undermine U.S. sanctions and put American troops at risk. The stakes are high, not just overseas. Pause. With midterm elections coming in November, energy prices have become a political issue. Polls show voters are increasingly concerned about the economy. Pause. Democrats are pushing the administration to reconsider, while officials insist the temporary waiver could help stabilize prices in the short run. Ultimately, the debate highlights a difficult balancing act. Pause. Policymakers are caught between global strategy, domestic energy affordability, and national security. Pause. For Americans at the pump, every decision matters. Political and security concerns over Russian oil waiver. Pause. What if a single decision could endanger U.S. troops and fuel global tension? Pause. That's the debate in Washington right now. Congressional Democrats are demanding immediate action to reverse a temporary sanctions waiver. Pause. The waiver allows India to purchase Russian oil, despite ongoing sanctions on Moscow. Pause. Representative Sam Liccardo and Senator Ruben Gallego argue it's a risky move. Providing this waiver is dangerous and self-defeating. The lawmakers wrote in a letter to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Pause. They warned that it could give Russia a financial advantage while it reportedly assists Iran in targeting U.S. military forces. The conflict in Iran has made the situation even more tense. Pause. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical passage for roughly 20% of global oil, is heavily congested. Pause. Any disruption here directly affects energy prices worldwide. Lawmakers are concerned that the administration's approach lacks planning. Pause. Instead of preparing alternative sources for India and allies, they argue, the waiver allows adversaries to profit from previously sanctioned oil reserves. Pause. This could weaken U.S. sanctions and signal that attacks on American forces go unrewarded. Energy Secretary Chris Wright has defended the waiver. Pause. He says it is a pragmatic, short-term step designed to stabilize global energy prices. Pause. The plan redirects oil to India instead of China, which Wright believes helps maintain balance in the market. However, Democrats remain skeptical. Pause. They argue that even if the Russian government does not benefit directly from selling oil at sea, the move still undermines the credibility of U.S. sanctions. Pause. It also raises questions about coordination with allies and contingency planning. The political stakes are high. Pause. With midterm elections approaching, voters are watching closely. Pause. Rising gas prices and economic uncertainty could influence the outcome in November. Pause. Democrats are using this issue to push for stronger oversight of foreign policy decisions. Liccardo and Gallego's letter also seeks clarity on planning and accountability. Pause. They asked whether the Treasury Department knew about intelligence reports of Russian-Iran collaboration. Pause. They also want to know if there are conditions that would revoke the waiver. Pause. The debate highlights the difficult balance policymakers face. Pause. On one hand, there's a need to ease energy costs for Americans. Pause. On the other, national security and sanctions integrity cannot be compromised. Pause. For U.S. citizens, the decision is more than political. Pause. It affects what they pay at the pump. Pause. It shapes how the country navigates a complex, high-stakes global crisis. Pause.